Hey guys, Yama Killer here, back again with the weekly deck roundup. I'm going to start off with standard as per usual and go down the list: Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Vintage, Pauper. You know the deal, you've been here before. Now let's get into it. Once again, I'm going to say in standard I have not played very much, although I have been talking to a lot of regulars who've been playing on the SCG online tour, people who've been grinding high arena ranks, and so on and so forth. And these are the decks they've been telling me are the ones to be playing. So I'm going to start off with the aggro deck of choice that I would play, which is mono green aggro. I've been told it's the premier aggro deck. You get to play a Covered Pelt Collector, into Barkhide Troll, into Gem Razor, or use Stonequill Serpent and Gem Razor as a very good combo to be able to attack your opponent and kill them quickly. You've got Questing Beast and a good solid curve to go down and be able to deal with the opponent's threats and be bigger than them and kill them quickly. So if I were to choose an aggro deck of choice for the weekend, mono green would be my choice. I'm told it's very good and can keep up with decks like Bant Ramp and Teamer Reclamation, which are the other two decks I would say to play. Teamer Reclamation, still great. Reclamation, Expansion Explosion. Some people have been splashing white even to play Teferi Time Raveler in their deck. It allows them to be very good in the Teamer Reclamation mirror, essentially just Teferi Time Raveler is one of the best cards against Reclamation, and being able to play it in your Reclamation deck is a mirror breaker. So if I were to try and play to beat exactly the Teamer Reclamation mirror, I would try to go for the 4-color version with Teferi Time Raveler in it. And finally, once again, the same 3 decks I talked about last week, same 3 decks this week. Bant Ramp, you got Shadow of the Sky for mono green, you've got Teferi Time Raveler for Teamer Reclamation, Elspeth Conquers Death for other mid-range piles in the mirror, and it's just an all-around just good cards deck. Gets to ramp, gets to play all the great cards in the format. Basically get to do whatever you want. Burrow, Teferi, Elspeth Conquers Death, just a great package in standard right now. So let's move on to a format I know a little bit more about. Let's move on to Pioneer. New unbanning this week, Oath of Nissa. This makes me believe that this deck, the mono green Walker's deck, is potentially playable again. The thing that I like about this deck the most, you do not have to think about sideboarding. What a great thing to do, you know? Pick up the deck, never have to sideboard. You get 12 Planeswalkers, 8 Elves, Jade Light Ranges to filter your draws, Big X spells and Voracious Hydra and Walking Ballista both out of the board and in your deck. Basically, you try to play a good sideboard with Karn the Great Creator and Vivian Arcbow Ranger to make it so you can deal with the combo decks and other decks that are around aggro, combo, and such. And you get to ramp into them quickly with Elvish Mystic, Burning Tree Emissary, Nykthos, and the such, and you can stabilize quickly and find the answers that you need from your sideboard. Although I played this deck this week, it felt very nice. I went 0-2 in a preliminary. My first round, I misclicked to lose with a Walking Ballista, where I accidentally put it on 3 instead of 4. Wasn't able to kill my opponent. And another round where I played against Winota and got turn 3 Winoted in 2 of the games that I lost. But the game where they didn't Winota, I ended up winning. But basically, I think if you have the right draws, I think against especially all the combo decks, you have the Karn or the Vivian to go get the pieces that you need. You're going to be very good in the game. And sometimes you just got to have like a natural beatdown draw. I played against Inverter. Just got to play like turn 2 Jade Light Ranger, turn 3 Jade Light Ranger, and just killed them pretty quickly because their Fatal Pushes couldn't interact with the 3-drop. So I think this is a reasonable choice, although I don't think it's necessarily going to be the best choice, as I think the 2 best choices, as I've been saying week over week over week, and it has been the case for many months, Dimir Inverter, great combo deck. You got to play Combo Control, which I think is the best possible archetype in basically any format that you can play it, and it is reasonable. You get to choose if you want to play combo, you get to choose if you want to play control, and post-board you can reconfigure your deck to make it so your opponent is very, very hard to play against. Sometimes they try to deal with Inverter when you don't even have Inverter in your deck. So it's just a great all-around strategy, and you get to configure in a way to basically beat whatever you want. And the other deck, as per usual, as I've been saying, Lotus Breach, great combo deck. If your opponent don't have the correct interaction, you can win as early as turn 3, and on turn 4 very, very consistently. So I would love to play a deck that just gets to kill the opponent when they don't have the correct interaction. And when they do have the correct interactions, we have cards like Fae of Wishes or Blink of an Eye or Void Snare, cards out of the sideboard to be able to deal with that interaction. Those are my 3 decks to play for Pioneer, and I hope you get to do well with at least one of them, even though most of the events probably won't fire as they haven't been firing for a while. In the addition of Oath of Nissa, I don't think is enough to make people invigorated to play the format again, as it hasn't really added enough to make decks like Dimir Inverter and Lotus Breach off the pedestal of the 1 and 2 deck to play. Now let's move on to Modern. Arkham's Astrolabe it's gone now. It makes a big difference. I think there are a couple decks that I still like to play, that I like playing in the past, that are still good now. And potentially a deck that I'm going to add to that list that I think is also got a big boost because of the Arcum's Astrolabe ban. Now here's one that I think got a big boost from the Arcum's Astrolabe ban. Green-red midrange. It was great before, but now against control decks, they need to have reasonable mana bases. And you know what's good against 3-color mana bases that try to be reasonable? Blood Moon. You get to make their mana just absolutely doo-doo. Koitha's still great against them. Basically, you now get to play on the mana denial axis against them as well as the value axis with Seasoned Pyromancer and Bloodbraid Elf. So now this is going to be good against control decks. You were already great against some aggro and burn decks. Now the only thing you got to shore up is combo, which you can do a little bit in the board with like Weather the Storm, Cinder Vines, Grafdigger's Cage, and Relics. I added some more Graveyard Hate because I think Dredge is on the rise. And I think this is a great deck choice, personally, for this weekend, as I think you've got a wide range of good matchups, and the bad matchups aren't going to be seen as much in the theme of combo decks. Although, another deck that I think is very good right now is Dredge, which I said I added more cards to the sideboard of red-green. I believe this is the deck I'm going to be playing this weekend, because I think people are not respecting it very much. It's a possibility that last week they weren't respecting it, but now with the banning of Arcum's Astrolabe, they think this, along with my thoughts of Dredge going to be increased in numbers and play some Graveyard Hate. So it's possible it's not as good as I think it's going to be, but as a person who is known for multi-queuing, this is a quick deck, as well as I think a very, very powerful deck. If your opponent doesn't have the right interaction, you can kill as early as turn 3 certain times, with a quick Ox of Aganos milling over a lot of your deck. With Creeping Chill, Ox of Aganos, just basically you get to flip your deck very quickly, attack with some quick Blood Gas, Prized Amalgam, Snark Amoeba, all the good Dredge things very quickly. You're very, very efficient now and basically get to enact your plan if your opponent doesn't interact in the right ways very, very easily. I think Dredge is great. I played it last weekend to a 7-2 record in the modern big qualifier for the mocks, and I think I'm going to play it again this weekend to see if that wasn't just a fluke. There are two other decks that I think are very good still right now. Eldrazi got Maze Mind Tome, what people are calling a Sylvan Library of Modern. I don't think it's that great, but it does smooth out your draws a lot with the scrying early on. And I think with the taking out of Modern's control decks as the top dog potentially because of Arcum's Astrolabe, that was one of your not so great matchups. And now with Ice Quaddle being worse, which was great against your Eldrazi side of your deck, makes your Eldrazi plan against the mid-range and control decks significantly better. So I think Eldrazi another great choice for the weekend. Finally, a sleeper hit I think is Neobrand, a deck that preys on decks like Gruul Midrange, Dredge, decks that can't interact with you on the right axis. Your worst matchups were control decks with Force of Negation. Guess what? Force of Negation decks are going to be on the downturn because of Arcum's Astrolabe banning. So this has the potential to come by storm and take a quick top 8, or potentially even a first if you get the right matchups. So if you want to roll the dice and get lucky, Neobrand's a deck for you. Now let's move on to Legacy. Another format I have not been putting that much work into. I played last week. I played Snoko, went 0-3 drop. Played pretty badly. I was multi-queuing, didn't know how to play the deck. It's not that surprising. But the deck that I would play again this week, I've been told by everyone, and did well in the Championship Series this weekend, Temur Delver. Delver's always tried and true strategy. Sometimes you just get a Daze, Wasteland, Force of Will out the game, and your opponent can't really do anything. You get to play busted cards like Oko, Thief of Crowns, Dreadhorde Arcanist. You know, you just get to play busted 2019 cards along with the busted shell of Delver, Daze, Wasteland, Force. So all those put together is a great deck, Temur Delver. Now, what I would play, if I could, 4-color Loam. It's a deck that I've had a lot of fun playing. You get to play the Wasteland Chalice of the Void against Delver. You get to play long games with Leovold, Uro, Oko, Dark Confidant, Abrupt Decay versus like the Stoko decks. And you just have a lot of good, interesting things going on. I find this deck a lot of fun. It's definitely very hard to play. I've made a lot of misplays with it, even with a good chunk of matches with it. If you want to have some fun, play some 4-color, play some interesting lands and Night of the Reliquary, this is a deck that I would highly suggest. Now, let's move on to a format I've actually been playing a good chunk this weekend, and the last week is Vintage. A deck that I would highly suggest, I've been playing and having a lot of good results, is this 4-color Underworld Breach deck. You get a combo with Underworld Breach, Brain Freeze, Black Lotus, mill your whole deck, then mill your opponent's whole deck, make them draw with an Ancestral Recall or just a natural draw step, and you get to kill them pretty easily. A lot harder to interact with this combo because game 1, you're an Underworld Breach, Brain Freeze deck. And then out of the board, you're a Xerox Sprite Dragon Monastery Mentor deck if you want to be. You know, dictate how you want to play the game. It's combo control, once again, another archetype I love playing if possible. Getting to play combo control is great because your opponents have to decide, okay, do I want to devote cards to the combo? Do I want to devote cards to their secondary plan? How am I going to be playing this? And you get to dictate how the game flows a lot of the time. And you get to have just random draw steps that win you the game, or your opponent can't interact with you in the correct way. So for that reason, I would love to play this deck. The mana base is a little bit rough. You got to learn how to fetch. You got to learn how to manage your mana to be able to play all the 4 colors. But I think it is a very, very good choice. Now, as per usual, I think playing a deck like Dredge, just a bizarre deck, if you're new to the format, a great way to get initiated. You're going to lose to some graveyard hate sometimes, but sometimes you just get a bizarre Baghdad some people out. Now, whether it's Dredge, Hollowvine, the new Hogak deck, all of them I think are very reasonable choices. And finally, another combo deck I would love to play right now because I think Xerox, one of your worst matchups because of 4-main deck Pyroblast, is on the decline. Paradoxical Outcome is a great choice. You get to just turn 1 kill people sometimes. You get to play the long game with some Ancestrals, Lavinia, Yogg-Will, Tinker, and all these things. You get to play a lot of very, very busted cards. For that reason, I think Paradoxical Outcome is a great choice, again, for this weekend. Finally, Pauper. I'm not a big fan of Pauper, but last weekend, I won the Pauper Challenge. I was very, very excited about that. It was a small 51-player challenge, and I played Affinity. Funny enough, in the final round, I offered my opponent a split where they gave me 5 extra chests because I thought the matchup was good. They declined. I smoked them 2-0. It was a great experience. Now, I played Affinity. This deck list, very, very greedy. But I myself am a greed master, and I got lucky with my greed and did very well with this. You've got a combo of Atog plus Fling to kill your opponent out of nowhere, and you've got just like a pile of 4/4s and Gear Sheep Preserve and a 5/6 and Atog, which is incredibly hard to block. Because sometimes if you don't block it, you just die. So this deck really abuses the Affinity mechanic as well as getting artifact lands and all these things. I think this is still a great choice, even with the bannings of Mystic Sanctuary and Expedition Map, getting rid of some of your bad matchups. I still think the ability to kill out of nowhere, as well as just have a pile of 4/4s and some good card advantage in the form of Witching Well and Thoughtcast, being able to play essentially what colors you want, makes this another great choice for Pauper, and what I am personally going to be playing this weekend. I hope you guys liked the video. I know I was a little bit all over the place and was quick with what I was saying. I was trying to get over a lot of information very quickly. And there were some formats I didn't know too much about, so I tried to not act like I knew all that much about it. But I hope the information I have given you from both myself and people that I've talked to about the formats is useful and gives you guys an insight on what to play this weekend and allows you to find some success. If you guys liked the video, make sure to comment and like the video, subscribe as well. You'll find in the description below my Twitch and Twitter, which this weekend I'll be playing loads and loads of challenges over the weekend. I hope to see you guys there and interact with me and tell me if the decks that I chose were the same. If you guys like them, if a deck you chose was something good and ended up doing well, I'd love to hear about that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.